Lawklivya Vengeance. It's such a cool name, Brandon. Like, where did that name come from?
It's actually my kids.
Oh,
My son's name is Lachlan, and my
okay.
daughter's
Okay.
name is Olivia. And I've always kind of combined it to write this lore, this land that I kind of create some stories out of. And when I was looking for a name for the game, everyone really liked it without even knowing the connection.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a cool
yeah, so I
name.
just
Yeah.
yeah, thanks, yeah.
It's a really cool name. So, welcome to Kicking Tables, Brandon. I'm glad we finally were able to connect here and talk about Lawklivya Vengeance. But tell us, what is the game? Like, tell us all about it, and I kind of how does it play through? And I've seen one of your videos. I don't know if you have more out yet, leading up to your campaign on February 16th. But tell us about the game. What's it all about?
So I wanted a complete co-op game, so something that I could play with my family, with the kids, and there's no fights, there's no arguing, there's
Mm,
no I'm gonna beat you or why are you beating me. So that was important. I also wanted a game that had a clear ending, one that didn't have arbitrary rounds or just first to this many points. So
okay.
it's essentially a worker placement game where you're gathering resources, you're training your heroes, you're building weapons and upgrading your castle, and then you help each other out to fight enemies and defend your castle.
Okay.
And then finally, the big bad boss shows up, and everyone brings all their warriors in, and you either all win together or you all lose together.
So it's worker placement, but it's co-op. You're working together, or is there any
Yes.
kind of verses at all while you're playing?
The only verses would kind of be for the certain spots on the common board. So
Okay.
when you're gathering resources, there's limited spots. When you are getting new workers, there's limited spots. So that's the only kind of competitive part of it. Other than that, you have to help each other out to defend against the enemies. So I guess if you're feeling particularly selfish, you could not help them. But like you all win together or lose together, so it doesn't really help you.
That's good. I actually, I really love co-op games. It's just co-op. Ever since I was introduced, I would say to Pandemic many years ago, which is, I have every Pandemic game made. That's how much I love it. That really ingrained in me my love of the co-op experience in gaming. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure there were co-op games before it, but I think Pandemic really kind of brought it to the forefront.
Yep,
You
I
know,
agree.
that whole
Yeah.
idea of working together and playing against the game, essentially.
Absolutely.
How many rounds do you make the worker placement? You're building up an army, essentially. You also define it as a tower defense.
Yeah.
And so, how many rounds before the big bad comes out?
So it's there's a common deck that there are scouting reports. So you flip a scouting report and it's either an all clear day, so that means you can go out to the commons board and collect your resources, you can train your warriors, or you flip a card and it's an enemy. And so then you fight that enemy. And once you have defeated, depending on number of players, a certain number of enemies, that's when the big bad guy shows up.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. This sounds really cool.
So
Nice.
you'd mentioned where got the name from. I'd love to hear the inspiration where you got the idea for the game. Was it designed in minds of again you said of playing with your kids? How old are your kids for one thing?
Uh, they're 10 and 12 now.
10, 12. Okay, and so you designed this in order to play with with them with that at that age group.
Yeah, so they were, the original idea has been taking place over, about a year and a half,
Okay.
maybe. So they were a little bit younger, but just as we started playing through games that were a little more competitive, I just kept trying to find more games that were co-op.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and even the co-op ones that sometimes you'd find, they weren't complete co-op. And I just wanted this, we all win or we all lose.
Yeah.
And so that's what really led me to go in that direction of it. My kids love board games. I love getting them off tech and the pandemic, not the game, but our world, it really has been great for board games. It's a positive. Trying to look for positives.
Well, I'd say
Yeah, so
one of the
I was
big positives of yours is it's a Canadian-made game.
absolutely.
Right here, local to us. Like you, all three of us are very close to each other, so that's even bonus right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so I made sure all the enemies in the game are they're human, kind of a human animal hybrid. If you've seen the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
They're all Canadian animals. So I made sure to put some
Awesome.
good Canadian flavor in there.
Yeah, I noticed the moose in there. I noticed the
Definitely
moose
got to
for
have a
sure.
moose. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I
What?
even have so I put a beaver in as well.
Nice.
And
Awesome.
so that's the 72-hour funding goal. If we fund within 72 hours, everyone gets the ultra Canadian one.
Oh, that's awesome. That is
That is
really
fantastic.
awesome. So the game is for 1 to 4 players. So obviously it has a solo mode, and I guess is that just inherent because it is a co-op that you could just play it by yourself, or are there any rule changes if it's a solo game?
So there's a small number of rule changes that are involved because if you're only playing by yourself, you can't get the help from someone
Right.
else to defend your castle. So in that regard, there is a mechanism where you can spend resources to see if there's another warrior that will come help, and you kind of roll the die for either a swordsman or an axeman or an archer, and that'll say if yes or no they come and help you. So once, other than that, it is a complete solo. Like it's not, you have to play two characters. It's just you versus the game.
Okay.
And of course, I love solo games as well. It's one of the big things that I've played a lot more of with the pandemic.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's been, I had to have that in my game as well.
Well, it's become a very important factor, I think, over the last year in Kickstarter games. A lot of people want that. Where's the solo mode? Is there a solo mode? That's a big question on everybody's minds these days with Kickstarter games. So, great that you have a solo mode there. That's really going to go far.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're all happy. I've had the kids play by themselves. I've had my wife, who's not a real gamer, play, and even she said it was good. So
Oh, see, that's
Oh, that's
sold.
stamp of approval.
Stamp of
Right? That's
approval
the main
right
thing.
there. I mean, I am constantly looking for games that I can get my wife to play because she's not a gamer either. But there are a small set of games she enjoys.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I'm trying to find sort of those gateway games that can get her into more titles rather than just that small set. Like that started out with Uno. And I've got her.
Right.
I've got her. She really enjoys Suro and Fire Tower. She
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed playing too. So,
Oh,
you know, I'm trying to get more titles. So yeah, that's great. Nice gateway
yeah,
game there for my
and
wife.
that's one of the things that I really tried to make sure that I put into the game was a way for gamers to enjoy themselves as well as people who aren't big gamers. So I
That's
made sure
great.
to get it out to a bunch of my friends who just aren't into board games, and I said, hey, just give it a try and let me know what you think, and was it easy to understand. So I made sure that I could bring in as many people as possible to the table.
That's a really great idea. What kind of feedback did you get from the non-gamers?
So yeah, it was funny because they had never played a worker placement game. They were used to going around a board.
Yeah, and
you
that's a
know?
very specific kind of game, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were blown away. I think maybe they'll become gamers now because they
Awesome.
were blown away with the mechanic just of worker placement and flipping the deck and fighting a big bad guy. So they were. Yeah, it was pretty funny that they had no clue about worker placement. So it was nice to introduce that to them because I think that it is
Yeah.
maybe not a gateway. Is there another word for
I think
welcoming into
a
the
welcome. I mean, I like the
Yeah.
word gateway. It just means
It is
that
a gateway. It is.
it's how you get into it, And
That's
I mean, you got to admit, a lot of non-gamers when they think of games, what do they think of? They think of Monopoly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Monopoly or cards.
Right. That's what they
Yeah.
when they think games, that's what they think of. And so, yeah, introducing to a worker placement would be like, what? What is this?
Yeah, big time. And actually, one of the comments that one of my good friends said was, this is the Antimonopoly.
Oh my
And,
gosh, yeah.
and so he was saying, this game you can finish, and you're all doing it together. No one's flipping the table. No one's, you know, pushing all the pieces off the table and saying I'm out of here.
Yep,
You
exactly.
clearly won an hour ago, and we're still playing.
We're no rage
Uh,
quitting.
yeah, so that was nice. I like that compliment.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Well,
awesome.
speaking of rage quitting, there's different difficulty levels for the game, so the group can actually adjust the difficulty, for their play styles and stuff like that. Can you tell us a bit about how the difficulty levels work?
Absolutely. So again, that was one of those things to bring in, my kids could play, and
Yeah.
gamers and non-gamers alike. So that was something that I know I needed to include. So there's three difficulty levels. So on each enemy card, there is a health level and how many dice they roll for their attacks.
Okay.
So it's a simple mechanism that you can just pick and choose. We're going to play on easy. And then same with the boss at the end. They have a certain amount of health based on easy, normal, or difficult.
Okay.
But then on top of that, I wanted to add what I call the boss health matrix. So essentially, there's a set amount of health that, let's say, is 20 to defeat the boss.
Right.
But if let's say, you get to that 20 and you can keep adding more, well, then just keep fighting and see how much health you can take away. And let's say you get to 26. Well, that's, 26 on normal. Okay, then you mark that off. And then the next time you play, you can try and beat that score. So you could just try and beat the boss at 20, or you can keep going and try and beat your 26, your score.
Okay.
And that's for each of the easy, normal, and hard difficulties as well. So just a little more replayability that I wanted to add to it.
That's awesome. What during the development, you said you've been working on it for about a year and a half. What would you say was the hardest thing to get right? What did you struggle with the most in this game?
Definitely the health of the enemies and the strength of their attacks. The health of the final boss. That was something that you'd play it over and over, and you'd give it to other people to play and find out, like, how quick was this, or how much health did you take away, or did you ever not win? Because as much as I want it to be fun, it has to be a little difficult too.
Right.
I definitely, on easy, I want you to be able to win. On normal, it's okay to lose a couple times, and I want hard to be hard. I want you to have to really figure out a strategy to beat the boss. So going through and trying to figure out those health values, that was definitely the most difficult. That required the most amount of time and energy into doing that.
Do you have any fun playtesting stories that you kind of look back on fondly?
Absolutely. It's funny. My daughter is actually, she's the game breaker. So
Nice.
I would play with her and think, okay, this is really working, and then she would do something that I had never even thought of, and I'd be like, oh, I think you just broke the game. I had no answer for what she had just done.
I think you just found her. I think you just found her future work.
Absolutely.
She's game breaking.
Yeah.
She's going to be the ultimate game tester.
It just kept happening. So, I mean, thank goodness, because it was a great way to fix the game.
Sure.
To troubleshoot. So it was really funny how she just did these things that you never even thought of, which was pretty cool. I'm kind of proud of her.
What kind of thing? What was one of those things, or just a couple samples of what she did, and how did you fix it?
So one of the ones that I remember is when gathering resources, she really just focused on building like the one type of weapon, getting the one type of resource, and would just stockpile all of these, and then was suddenly able to go way beyond what the rest of us were with power, and so she would just destroy everything. And so then that again just led me to have to come up with, how many workers can you place here? How many workers can you place there? So that was the real fix that I remember for that one in particular.
So that just became a bit of a rule change then, or?
Yeah, a rule change. Like the board itself, how many spaces would I
Okay.
allocate for, a two-player game, a three-player game, a four-player game,
Ah, okay.
um, and then things like how many workers would I allow there to be total in your castle, um,
Hmm.
how many fighters total, things like that. I didn't think you could get up to so many warriors, but somehow she blew past what I thought you could do. So I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. So it was pretty fun doing that. It was a great bonding moment.
I bet. Wow. I bet she was proud of herself.
Oh, she still brings it up. I'm sure she always will. Yeah, she always will.
Dad, remember that time I broke your game?
Yeah, over and over. Yeah.
So you'd mentioned the first 72 hours will unlock the beaver for everyone else. Is there any other stretch goals you might be able to? Is there a raptor in the future? Maybe
Oh, that's
is it
Oh,
unlockable?
yeah, yeah, nice. Um, I was struggling with stretch goals. So as a first time game designer, I had seen a lot of Kickstarters that had stretch goals that they hadn't even come close to their goal yet. They were planning all these things, and I always thought, why aren't they just in the game?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's, you're a first time designer. It's not like, you're Come On or Awaken Realms and you have all this money to offer all these amazing minis, right? So
Yeah.
my thought was I would just offer it all in the package. And at first I even had done a deluxe and a standard,
hmm.
and then I just said, no, I want the best one. I just got
Right.
rid of the standard, kept just the regular version, and that was it. If it's a very successful Kickstarter, I definitely have some ideas, but I don't want to. I don't want to be too. What's the word? Cocky, arrogant. You
Fair.
know,
Yeah.
I I think it's a great game, but you
Yeah.
never know, right? I mean, I'm going to be over the moon, to hit the goal, and I didn't want to think, too far ahead. Yeah,
Well,
so right now it's just that game,
yeah.
and yeah, it's the best thing that I've come up with.
Yeah, maybe look at just like quality improvements if you get above your goal, and that's to
Exactly.
me
Yeah.
that's kind of like the best thing to do for a game personally is just
Yeah.
you give us the game, but if you get more than you need, then you just get better quality
Yeah.
components. That's to me is
Exactly.
the best way to
Yeah.
to do stretch goals. The linen finished, for example, or even
Yeah.
thicker cubes or whatever the pieces are you're using, or bigger, whatever. It's just the quality improvements. I think
Yeah.
is one of the best things to add as stretch goals.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree, and that's not trying to withhold things from the
right,
game.
right.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Now, so let's look a little bit into the future here. So once you've got your goal and you've sent it out to your backers, what are your plans after Kickstarter for the game? Are you hoping to be able to sell it online? Do you want to get into the local stores? What's the hope here?
Yeah, so definitely, I hope to sell it online. I definitely hope to get it into local stores. I think, especially during this pandemic, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
important to get those local stores going and to promote them. And I would absolutely love that. There's a retailer pledge on the Kickstarter. I hope retailers take advantage of that. And it's definitely been sorely missed with game groups and people just getting together, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I definitely hope to see the game in the local game shops for sure.
I hope so too. A
Yeah.
nice local game, Canadian built. I can't
Yeah.
wait. So February 16th is the launch. Are you excited? You said this is your first Kickstarter. Are you
It is.
nervous? Are you excited? What's kind of everything all in once?
Absolutely, absolutely, everything at once. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. It's been a long journey, and it's been crazy. I definitely thought it was going to be a long, hard journey, and it has exceeded that for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also exceeded it in the amount of happiness and excitement during such a awful year. So it's been a really good go-to for me.
Awesome.
And same with my family. Like they've really enjoyed seeing the whole process happen.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's exciting, and yeah, we'll see. I got my fingers crossed.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us to talk more about Lawklivya Vengeance on Kickstarter, February 16th. Brandon, good luck with your campaign, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Make sure that you check out the Kickstarter on February 16th, and make sure you subscribe to OMG Nexus on the link below.